All right. Well, in the interest of time, I think we'll get started and Kathy can keep letting people in as they arrive. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ros Cardinal. I'm the Managing Director here at Shaping Change, and it's my great pleasure to introduce Rachel to you. Now, Rachel Ligon is a money mindset expert, a digital marketing strategist, and former news producer for the NBC and ABC affiliates. With over 15 years of experience working behind the scenes on major productions for studios like Disney, Tyler Perry Studios and Amazon, Rachel knows what it takes to lead under pressure, communicate with impact and thrive in fast-paced, high-stake environments. Today, she helps purpose-driven professionals, entrepreneurs and leaders reprogram how they think about their worth, their work and wellness so they can rise with clarity, confidence and resilience. Through a signature framework, which she's going to walk us through today, Rachel delivers practical, actionable strategies that help teams navigate change, prevent burnout, and show up as their best in both their life and their business. So welcome, Rachel. Really happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here. And hello, everyone. Am I taking over now, Ms. Rosalind?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Thank you all for being here. Yes, my name is Rachel Ligon, and I would love to talk to you today about a framework, which is really a mindset to help you all go live in your own personal and your professional lives. And what that really means is having a mindset that will help you learn to adapt and be resilient and know how to thrive under pressure. I'm going to share a lot about me in terms of how I adapted the mindset of going from news and how to apply those same concepts in your own strategy when you're in work. And one thing I want to mention before I actually get started, I love to see the people here in the room with your cameras on. And I want this to be more like a conversational style because I want to know exactly what do you all actually are looking to expect on this call today. I want to make sure that I customize it and cater to you to help you if you have any, I would say, insecurities or any questions. You can always feel free to just open your mic and talk. This can be more of a discussion, a roundtable. If I would love to know, just asking a few questions. Anybody open to just sharing their mic and tell me, what are you hoping to expect inside of this Zoom call today? And what are you looking forward to? Why did you sign up? And anyone could just get started. Just open your mics, it's fine. Are, did everyone hear me? I'm not sure if everyone can hear me.
Also, if you want to put things in the chat as well, rather than speaking up, we're happy to do that and I'll read them out if things come through in the chat as well.
We've just discovered where to turn our mic on.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Adrienne. I thought that this would be a great session. I just saw resilience and pressure and thought, oh, yes, I'm under pressure and I could do with some resilience. So really anything to help. And then the more I kind of looked, I went, oh, this actually looks really interesting. So thank you.
What exactly are you under pressure with?
I'm a government lawyer.
Oh, a government lawyer, yeah. So the things that you're dealing with, what would you like to learn how to handle today?
I think part of it is not adding to more of the pressure and to how to continue to work towards healthy and positive workplace culture environment and not have my kind of pressure and feelings go further to negatively impact and kind of get involved in that cultural downward spiral of mood. When we pull together, you can kind of deal with, like trauma bonding or frontline pressure, that you can come out of it feeling really positive about each other, even if you're under a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
so I think that sort of piece.
Absolutely. So helping you know how to operate not just out of emotion, but more so out of excellence and how to thrive under that pressure. We're for sure going to tap into that. Anybody else would love to share, or do you have anything in the comments, Rosalind? Or anyone can just open your mics. I would love to know, because I want to make sure this is customized to what you're currently going through, so I can make sure that I'm speaking directly to what you need most.
Nothing in the chat as yet.
In the chat? Okay. Well, I thank you, Ms. Adrienne, for that information. I'm going to move forward. But I want you all to know that this is going to help you become a better leader in those fast-paced, high-pressure environments that you all are working in. So today what you're going to learn is how to master your mindset. That's the biggest thing, because when it comes to leadership, a lot of it is really just mastering the mindset of a leader. And we're going to talk about what that means. And then how do you lead with clarity and confidence, even when you're in the middle of a crisis? And then how to reclaim your personal power and be resilient even when you have some setbacks, because things are going to set you back. It just happens for everyone. It's something that's unavoidable. But I'm going to show you how to be inspired and take aligned action that you and your team, as well as yourself, can apply to your personal and professional life. So I know that this presentation, I know that a majority of you may be from Tasmania, but I found out some of you may be from Zambia or from Canada. But this presentation, I know right now in Tasmania, some of you may be feeling, and tell me if this sounds familiar, that your team feels exhausted, but there's change that keeps coming in Tasmania. I know they're dealing with reduced staff, there's cutting loss, trying to do more with the less that you have available. Or maybe you're navigating a political fatigue. Maybe your budget you're budgeting having overages, or public opinions are swinging around, and there's internal chaos with maybe the fourth election that's happening in Tasmania. Or let's say maybe there's certain issues with confidence and resilience, because right now you might be feeling you're stretched thin, especially if the government is unstable. And so at the end, I'm going to show you how, if you stick to the end, I have some ways to help you continue that leadership training and also apply this to your personal life as well as to your team. But let me introduce myself. My name is Rachel Ligon. I am the founder of Adorn Boss Business Academy. I am an entrepreneur, but before I became an entrepreneur, I have a background over 16 years working as a news producer for NBC and ABC affiliate stations. And then I transitioned to the film industry. I worked at Tyler Perry Studios, Disney, Amazon Studios, and so on. I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia, where it's one of the most booming places besides Hollywood, where the film industry is happening. And it's mostly because our tax incentive is very cheap to film here. So there's a lot of chaos, a lot of deadlines that need to be met. I understand about delivering the truth very quickly and how to lead people through a crisis, because that was my job. This was a picture of me in the newsroom when I was working in the newsroom. This is actually a video here. You would see me producing, and things would happen in real time, and I had no time to really just figure things out, and I had no time to freak out. I had to make sure that I was operating and scripting TV and film and working on multi-million-dollar sets. Everything that I learned about leadership and communication and resilience, and how to do all of that while under fire, because things are going to happen not just on your job, but also in your real life. And having those high-stake experiences, I'm now here to show you how to transfer those lessons into your workplace, your boardroom, or even a policy for your team. And so now, right, why now? Well, because the pace of change really is not going to slow down. I know that Tasmania is navigating the budget backlash, the state election, public trust erosion. There's different things going on with the ports and the ferries and the football teams. You're dealing with a lot there, specifically in Tasmania. And if you're not in Tasmania, you can apply this knowing what's going on in your own country or community. And executives are feeling overwhelmed with all this shift that is happening. But how do you handle this and you're not emotionally taking action instead of taking action that's aligned with your goals? That's what we're focusing on. What is the end goal here that you really have? So I want you all to think about that. What's your end goal? And that's what we're going to lead your decision making, not your emotions. And this isn't just a speech, it's really going to help you have a personal leadership system, and it's called Go Live. I had to go live every single day as a news producer, and I'm teaching you how to go live when things go disrupt an array, when it seems like breaking news is happening in your own personal life. That's exactly what it's teaching you today. So let me break down what Go Live stands for. G stands for Get Grounded, which is establishing a solid foundation by aligning your mindset, your goals, and your priorities. O stands for Organize your plan. I want you to map out your goals and your resources and create a step-by-step plan to move forward. L stands for Learn to Adapt, because in real life, things are going to change and it's going to be uncontrollable, but you need to develop a mindset that you're constantly able to pivot and not procrastinate. And when things are just shaking and it's uncontrollable, you need to know how to embrace the challenges and look at it as an opportunity for growth. Okay, and then you need to inspire action. So you're going to become confident as more challenges come along, and you're going to be able to take imperfect action and not worry about, okay, I don't want to make a decision right now because, well, it's not ready. I'm going to show you how to take action in spite of feeling prepared. And then V stands for visualize the outcome. These are the tools to help you stay motivated, stay focused, stay intentional in your efforts. And then E stands to execute with excellence, because at the end of the day, we want to deliver excellence. You want to be prepared and show up as your best self. So let me tell you a little bit about the day in the life of a news producer. This is me here. I was working at this time. This is my very first job opportunity. I was at this time, I think I was 23 years old, and I was working at News Channel 5 in St. Louis, Missouri. This is what my typical day looked like. Work would start before I actually even got to work. I had to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning and watch the news that was airing before me from the night before, so I can figure out what happened and what to follow up on inside of my news rundown. By 8 a.m., I would get to work. I would review the stories from the day before, looking at what was the relevant information, because in news, we had to always lead with what's current. And then at 9 a.m., I would gather news from various sources like NBC and ABC affiliate stations. I had the help desk that was providing me information from police scanners and social media, tips from my emails. I'm constantly moving and juggling and multitasking. And then I have to draft what's called a rundown, which I'm having about maybe 60 different stories that are full stories that I had to summarize between 30 to 40 seconds. And the most of them were relevant news stories. And then by 10 to 11 a.m., I would have a morning meeting. I would, as the producer, I would be meeting with the managers and my reporters that I'm telling them this is what's happening in my rundown. We would share what's happening from their hour that they were producing because there are so many different stories or shows that are happening in the same day. I was only in charge of 1 hour out of the entire day's worth of news. And I would pitch my ideas. Everybody's pitching their ideas. And then by 11 o'clock, I'm back at my computer from 11 to 6. I'm summarizing those stories after getting direction from my team. And everything had to be within 30 seconds, which really helped me with the communication side. And then all while monitoring the breaking news that was still happening in real time. So I'm readjusting what I've already written. If there's breaking news that comes in, all of the things that I've worked on throughout that day gets thrown out and it never sees the light of day again, because things are moving in real time. I'm editing sound bites from my footage that I've gotten from my photographers. I'm telling them to go onto this site. I'm telling my reporters, make sure you cover this story. I'm sending them to different locations in the field, setting up live shots, and then from the scene so that I can see the action taking place while I bring it up on camera, because you have to be a master of multitasking. And then by 6 p.m., I'm briefing with my anchors, my reporters, my directors to get that final rundown of what's about to happen. And then by 7 p.m., it's showtime. Everything that I prepared for that all day since I got up at 5 a.m., now it's time to go live, because there's no error for mistakes. Everything that is happening in real time. I have my headset on. I'm giving out cues to my reporters, my anchors, my teleprompters, my directors. I'm all while still writing and updating stories that's happening in real time. And then so the lessons that I've learned, because I was a very hectic schedule, and I would do that day after day after day, Monday through Friday, and sometimes weekend because we were understaffed, and then that's just the grind of working in news. But the lessons I learned was how to manage stress, because that's a very stressful environment. I'm sure a lot of you can agree that you too might be having a different level of stress, but at the end of the day, everyone has a certain amount of stress. But knowing how do I manage this, one of the biggest things, and this is something you have to be well rested, that's number one, but also two, I would suggest that you breathe. The only way I could really get through that was breathe. I was running a business even now as I run my business, just like I was when I was producing my live broadcasts. It's unpredictable. It's high pressure. It requires me to be calm. It requires me to have clear decision making. And all those skill sets has helped me become a better entrepreneur and a better leader. And this Go Live method really is going to equip you with tools to manage your stress that I had to manage on a day-to-day basis. And I did that for over 16 years working in the media. And then learning to adapt quickly, because just as I have failed live, because everything didn't go right in real time. Some things were some mishaps. However, I would catch them and I would just have to learn how to pivot seamlessly so that it may not have looked like a mistake, but I knew on my end that if I messed up, but how do you move forward where it may not appear that others have noticed your mistakes, and just knowing the challenges and how to be flexible in problem solving. And then you're going to I learned how to take action instead of being afraid of failure, which failure actually often paralyzes us. But with the Go Live method, it's going to teach you how to take imperfect but consistent action, and then how to tell that story the right story, because I also teach in my business marketing skills, and it's my job to help you tell stories, which I know now how to craft so many stories and understand what's your issue and how to communicate to your audience that cares most about what you have, what you're doing to help them. Because whenever you're dealing with people want to know, how are you helping me? And so when you communicate with people, you have to give them things that they care about, no matter what industry you're in. So understanding how to communicate is very important. So let's start with G, get grounded. Your foundation, it matters. This is the foundation to help you with your leadership skills, because before you lead others, you must know how to anchor yourself. So what does this actually mean, to anchor yourself? Getting grounded is all about creating a solid foundation for aligning your mindset, your goals, and your priorities, because understanding why you are doing what you're doing is going to matter, because before you take action, it's crucial to know, who are you serving? When you're thinking about what you're doing, it's not about you. You have to think about the bigger picture. What is the end goal that you want? And then set that first. And that's where your confidence starts to build clarity, because clarity comes from being grounded first. So when you get grounded, before you lead others, you must anchor yourself. What values are you actually guiding people through? Are you showing up scattered, or are you centered yourself? Because when you're centered, you're able to take action without overthinking. So I would suggest you do some breath work. And some of us can do this now. I don't know if anyone heard of box breathing. Has anyone ever heard of box breathing before? How many of you actually tried it and then it calms you down? Raised by a show of hands. If you don't know how to do breath work, we can practice right now. And the moment that you're feeling stressed, I want you to take 4. We can do this in breaths of 4, just 4 inhale breaths. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You hold your breath for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Release slowly in count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you repeat it. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. That there will actually slow down your nervous system. And I'm going to tell you why this is so important, because your body cannot tell the difference when your body is under attack just internally from your mindset. You can cause the same amount of damage in terms of that heart rapid anxiety that can lead to a lot of different organ failures. Just from that, stress can literally kill you. We heard this so many times before, but if you don't know how to ground yourself and breathe through it, and maybe even go for a walk, you have to prioritize your health first, because you can't be helpful to others when you personally are distressed. So make sure you take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself, because I learned this in corporate America. If you were to, let's say, God forbid, pass away, they have a replacement on the way. So take care of yourself first, because you matter more, and you can't do anything. It's just like they say when you're on an airplane, to put the mask on yourself first before you help someone else. It's very important to get grounded. So now you can lead from a clear mindset instead of a stressed mindset, because haste makes waste. There's a saying, whenever you're frantic, you're not making a clear judged decision. So getting grounded is part of leadership. So what matters most to your audience today? And when I was thinking about my experience, I had to focus on my story. For me, what mattered most to my audience on that day, and why would they care? They would always say, if it bleeds, it leads. My biggest thing I found out was to keep the audience's attention. That was my job, because people are so busy. They're getting ready for work, or they're multitasking. And that's why we always want to, in news, give a great headline that will stop them and make them pay attention. But I had to stay grounded to focus on all the chaos that was going on around me. But how do I not be overwhelmed with all of the volume of news that was coming my way, and taking time to focus on what did I need to prioritize was my end goal. The end goal for me was to make sure that I keep my audience attention, because I know in news, they cared more so about having enough viewers watching because there's also a sales team in news. They're caring about making sure that they can get the money from advertisers to guarantee we have this amount of viewers at this time. And I'm making sure that it's more than just delivering news to the audience who they rely on this information because it is really important to the people and the viewers, but it's also important to my station. So I'm looking at the bigger picture here. It's more than just news that I was doing. And so the connection to your leadership should be faced the same challenges as news producers. You all do as leaders, because there's always too much information. There's always too many tasks that you have going on. There's too many directions that you could take, but it's not enough for you to just do your leadership. You need to understand why, as a leader, who are you speaking to and what's your outcomes, and speak directly to the audience and the audience that you're serving. The next letter on the Go Live framework is O, which is organize your plan. So now that you've centered yourself, you need to start strategizing, because confusion creates chaos. You need clarity. That clarity is going to help you build momentum. So I want you to map out your goals for the day, and you should do this day by day. I love to, before I start my day, before I even get out of bed, I like to visualize, I like to imagine what's actually happened. What do I need to do today? I think about these things. I write it down so that I'm not starting my day just getting up and go. Some people wake up and they get straight out of bed and they just start moving and working, and they don't take that time for themselves. You need to plan it first and then make progress when life was really throwing you these unexpected challenges your way, because success is not random. It's the results of thoughtful planning. And then as a news producer, my day revolved around planning. So as you can imagine, from every moment that I stepped into the newsroom, I was tasked with building out a live news broadcast, story by story, second by second. And that meant creating a rundown that was detailed blueprint that I had to account for every moment of time. Every moment of time mattered for me. And so the connection between you as a leader, as a professional, you need to operate like a live news broadcast. It's happening in real time, what's happening to you. And there's no pause button. So how do you keep going? You need to lead like a producer, such as assigning a role if you have to delegate those responsibilities so that you're not overwhelmed. Anticipate what could happen. So when you're writing this down in the morning, fresh out of bed, think about these things. Prepping for showtime. Showtime can look like, okay, I start my day, maybe taking time for myself. I love slow mornings. That's going to center you, and then writing things down before you have to perform. And then not winging it. In leadership, you have to have real structure and tools like assessments that can really help you. Now let's talk about L, such as learn to adapt. This is how you're going to meet your unexpected challenges that comes your way, because when things are going to happen, that's going to throw you off course. But breakdowns, budget cuts, political firestorms, that's really the reality that we're dealing with. And so what this means is that life and business are all unpredictable. No matter how well you plan, even though we just had a plan, unexpected challenges will happen. So how do you handle them? You're going to develop the mindset and a tool to pivot quickly. Adapting doesn't just mean that you're abandoning your goals. What it means is that you're finding a new path to achieve that same goal. Because remember, we still have a goal in mind. If challenges come up towards you, you don't just delay your plans altogether. You just have to pivot and find ways to adapt. So the key takeaway is being flexible. Flexibility is really going to be your superpower. Having a plan A, B, and C for the just in case. I always had to plan for what if this happened, what if this happened. So in real time, I'm not just stuck with, okay, well, I'm freaking out because now I no longer can run this story because my anchors are, having technical difficulties, or maybe in the field, I'm not getting my camera shot. What I would do in that situation, when my camera shot gets knocked out or there's no power or whatever, when it comes to the reporter, I would then send a message down to the newsroom and tell my meteorologist to stretch. That was a term that we would use. Stretch means just keep talking, keep talking. So if you ever watch the news and you're seeing the meteorologists talk about the weather longer than they usually do, something's probably happening in the newsroom that's causing challenges, and they're reconstructing stories in real time. So we have plans for everything, and as well, you should think like a news producer in that way, adapting daily should be a requirement. So imagine this, that I would spend hours meticulously planning these live news broadcasts, every second, everything accounted for, perfectly timed. But then 10 minutes before I go live, there's breaking news. And then all of a sudden there's a major accident or a fire or a high profile press conference. And suddenly my carefully crafted rundown is no longer relevant. And I have to switch things up right on the fly. So what I had to do is I could not panic. I had to pivot. I immediately reorganized that broadcast. I adjusted my scripts. I'm communicating with my team. You have to be in great communication with your team. You're not doing this alone. You never should do this alone. That's going to cause you burnout. Okay, so I always have to think about how do you adapt, how adapting has taught me the flexibility of a survival skill is really a growth skill. So learning to adapt in leadership is tested in how you handle disruption. So think about what are you doing to handle that disruption that may happen in real time. And adaptability is not an option, it's actually a requirement for success. And how fast can you bounce back? So the connection to leadership, you should operate in real time, just like a live news broadcast, by looking at the different trends or the algorithm changes or the things that are evolving in your world. What's actually worked last year may not work this year. And that's okay, because success in 2025 is going to depend on your adaptability and being able to quickly adapt and embrace the change. So learning how to lead through uncertainty with confidence. Let me give you some examples. During the 2020 pandemic, CEOs like Arne Sorensen, she's with Marriott, she had to rapidly adjust cut costs and communicate through tough decisions and transparently while still rallying her team. And so the being able to be adaptable as a leader helped her stay calm under pressure, make swift decisions, and guide teams through through the unknowns, but with clarity. And also, too, it can inspire your culture of growth and innovation. For example, an executive at Microsoft had a rigid culture by embracing a growth mindset. They would empower teams to innovate and fail forward. It's okay to not have everything together and when it's perfect at once, because you're going to be able to I say perfect things as you go and learn how to collaborate across different departments. And so having a flexible leader creates safe environments for learning creativity and continuous improvement. And then lastly, also staying competitive is rapidly evolving markets. For example, Netflix had to pivot from DVD rentals to streaming. I don't know if you all had Blockbusters in your country, but you all did, yes. Do you remember why Blockbusters is now no longer in business? Because they didn't want to pivot. They decided to still sell those VHS tapes and things were moving to streaming platforms. Now Netflix is the leading place to rent your services for watching movies and TV shows. But had they adapted and pivoted, they would possibly still be in business or being a competitor to today. But then so that's the idea for executives. Things are going to change and don't fight the change, move with it. And that's going to help you flow, because one of the my word of the year for me is to flow. Because I used to be very anxious, but after breathing and just going with the flow and not trying to control everything, that allows you to embrace the change proactively instead of going off of emotion, just saying, okay, I'm expecting the change or I'm expecting this to happen today. And if it does happen, I'm prepared. I have X, Y, and Z planned because I already started my day that way, writing it down. And then I stands for inspire action, having momentum. Your title does not move people. Remember that. It's not about you. What really moves people is your integrity. Okay, so you got to inspire people to take action. When it comes to being confident, is something that you wait for. It's something that you can build through action in terms of inspiring people. Even when you don't feel fully prepared and taking imperfect steps forward, the key takeaway is for you to start where you are and don't wait for things to be perfect, because nothing really will ever be perfect. And so getting out of the mindset of, I have to have this right. If I'm speaking to someone and I don't have the words to say, it's okay to ask questions, to not feel like, okay, I have to show up and know everything. If you don't have the answers, it's okay to say, I don't know, but I'm going to get back to you. And no matter how small, creating that confidence is really just creating that clarity of communication. And so in the newsroom, there's no such thing as waiting for the perfect time. Because when I had to go live, every detail was not always polished. I vividly remember one of my first broadcasts, I had spent hours preparing, but right before going live, I had a breaking story that came in, and I had no script that was ready for that story. And I had seconds just to decide, do I wait and let that moment pass, or do I step up and make it happen? So instead of waiting for perfection that would have delayed my progress, I chose to take action. I quickly summarized the story. I fed the details to my anchor, and was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect, but that broadcast still had to go on. And the audience stayed informed, and I gained confidence because by me doing it messy allowed me to do it better the next time. And that's the mindset you have to apply to your leadership skills. So you might feel like you might have to have all the answers, but the truth is that success doesn't come from waiting until you're ready. It comes from starting now and adjusting as you go. So here's how to inspire action applies to your leadership strategy. You want to inspire your team, you need to model resilience. Them seeing you take action, you never know who's watching you. I always found that people will come to say to me, Rachel, wow, I don't know how you did that. And I think what it is the mindset of, I don't have time to freak out. I knew that I needed to be resilient, and I speak with clarity and confidence, and I make decisive actions. And then I get buy-in through have a shared mission, encourage autonomy while upholding accountability. You need to hold yourself accountable. And then V stands for visualizing the outcome. Visualization is so important, and I'm pretty sure maybe you heard of this before, but honestly, I'm gonna tell you, if you can't see it, then you won't be able to believe that it's possible. When it comes to visualizing, it's really a powerful tool for achieving any goal that you have. So by seeing yourself succeeding, you're going to create a mental blueprint. So remember when I was saying wake up in the morning and then writing down your goals, I would also add to visualizing that happen, because when you are, it keeps you motivated, it's going to keep you focused, it's going to keep you intentional with your action. There's so much science behind visualization, because everything that we have right now was someone's vision first. Even the idea of us being on this call today, it was visualized that this would be helpful for people, and out of someone's idea, you all are here today. So no matter what you're doing, if you can visualize it and then you plan for it, it really will happen. And just picture your success to stay motivated, because sometimes you're going to feel beat up, and you're going to believe that your vision is what's going to fuel your actions. Okay. And as a news producer, I had to visualize every single moment, because as I'm planning the rundown, I'm imagining, where are my anchors going to stay? And when I transition to a different set, will I put a news story here so they have enough time that maybe runs for 2 minutes, and then it gives them enough time to move to a different location, so that by the time the camera is back on them, it looks like they're in a whole new room, but they're not running and out of breath. I had to visualize, how am I going to maneuver this set so that my anchors feel everything is flowing and no one else is stressed. Because if I'm stressed and I create stress for my team, then everyone is flustered, and then we won't have a great show. So I had to visualize how my anchors would deliver each line. I knew what words I would write that would speak in the same way and mannerisms that my anchors would speak. So I'm thinking and hearing this in my head. It was so powerful that I was able to get a lot of different shows operating as I visualized them. And then it wasn't just creating an exercise, it was really creating a critical step to ensure success. So by visualizing the entire process, you can anticipate challenges that could happen, because again, you want to think about what could happen, and you can fill those potential gaps by thinking about them in advance, not waiting for them to happen and not being prepared, and confidently guiding my team through the show. And for same thing as a leader, that visualization works the same way. So in your leadership, I want you to take moments to visualize, what does success look like for you as a leader right now? What are you hoping to happen? And it's very possible, but visualize that happening. And then also, and there's another thing, I think you should smile while you're visualizing it, visualizing the good things that can happen. Don't worry about the negative things, because when you think negative, the negative will be attracted to you. When you think positive, positivity is attracted to you. And as the leaders, you need to have vision that creates alignment and optimism, because I never knew what was going to happen day by day, but I was optimistic about what could happen because I showed up prepared and I visualized it happening the way, regardless, I would even visualize what would happen if breaking news would happen. And so communicating all of this is very important for you. But also, too, lastly, the last letter is E, execute with excellence. I need you all to be doing your best, because no matter what happens, as long as you showed up as your best and showing up prepared, being prepared is showing up as your best. So excellent isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up prepared, being focused and confident. And you're confident when you've done all of the things in terms of my Go Live framework. You put everything in order. You did the best you can. Now you're showing up to execute this. When you have done all the work, you plan, you adapt, and you visualize, your goals will be able to be executed with pride, because you know that you gave it your best effort, no matter what happened. You didn't have to do anything. You delivered your best even when it wasn't perfect. You still stay consistent. You focused on taking actions. That's going to help you build momentum to become a stronger, resilient leader. You don't get knocked down and stay down. If you get knocked down, you get back up, and then you assess what happened, and so you can avoid that happening again. And that's going to help you produce those results over and over again every time. And for me, my experience when I was in news, I had the opportunity to execute with excellence. One of my memories, I remember after hours of preparation, every decision that I made, I had to be confident that the work that I did before it went live. I had to anticipate the breaking news, the stories, guiding my team through the unexpected technical glitches that would happen. I was backed with preparation and the trusting of the process. And the connection for you all as leaders, I want you to all to think about the bridge between planning and success. Because you've set the goals, you outline your strategies, you visualize the outcome, and now it's just time to take action. So you set the standard for yourself, you deliver it with integrity, and then you just create that culture of working through it and following through and flowing. So this Go Live framework is just an execution. It's the final step that brings everything together, because without execution, all that planning and preparation and visualization would have been wasted. It's the same is true for you as a leader. And so that's basically everything that I have for you all today. And I would love to open this up. Do any of you have any questions at all? Or Ms. Rosalind, you can also jump in as well. I would love to find out, do anyone have any takeaways from today? Anything that stood out that you feel like you can apply? Or if you have any questions specific to what you're dealing with in your industry, I would love to know.
I'll just jump in and say that I took a couple of notes. There was one of the things I really loved about what you said is doing it messy allows you to do it better next time. And I think that's one of the things that holds a lot of people back, is this idea that it has to be, better before they can, maybe not perfect, but it has to be better before we can take action on it. And it's that sort of doing it, not as well as perhaps you could, but it's that sort of iterative process of do it and then do it better next time and do it better the time after that. I really love that sort of idea of, gradually improving the things that we do rather than feeling like it has to be perfect first go. So thank you for that. That was actually a really lovely takeaway. I also had your title doesn't move people, your integrity does. I think that's a beautiful statement. So thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Integrity is very important. Do we have any other takeaways from today?
Got something in the chat. So thanks so much, Rachel. I love the description on adaptation. Adapting doesn't mean abandoning your goals. It means finding a new path to achieve them.
Yes, absolutely. Who said that?
Amanda.
Amanda, absolutely. Amanda, yes, that was absolutely true. I see, Adrian, you have your mic open.
I'm sitting in a room full of lawyers, and leading on from what Ros was speaking about. Obviously, we've got an entire profession that is almost entirely populated with perfectionists, and we can cause ourselves significant harm by getting frozen with this, wanting to do it perfectly because, it's a craft and you hone it and there's a particular word or this needs to go this way. And, I think that can be quite a lot of stress on us. And I liked that idea of just doing it messy. And I was thinking with your, the breaking news and things, and I think it can also work with the things that we do sometimes when you send out like an interim piece of advice, that sometimes that messiness actually adds to the urgency and impact, and that there is actually some value in messy as a form of communication, that, at given time, you will get something beautifully crafted and polished and on the right template and signed, and it'll go out and do this. And in moments of urgency, what you're going to get is blurted dot points that I need you to consider right now. And sometimes I think we forget that there's actually value and the communicative element of messy, and I forget about that sometimes. So thank you for that reminder.
Absolutely. I think you hit it right on the head when you think about the beauty of not having everything perfect. I also have been labeled as a perfectionist, and so I had to jump out of that mindset of what exactly is perfect. When you think about it, there really is nothing that's going to be perfect. And everyone if especially when you take integrity in what you do and you take pride in what you do, we understand of wanting to do a great job, but part of doing a great job doesn't mean that everything is perfect. Doing a great job is really communicating with anyone who has an expectation of you and also setting realistic expectations for people you're working with. So having that open line of communication is going to help them realize that you're just as human as they are. And if you make a mistake, everything can be, I can say, re-advised or add an addendum. Like nothing has to be necessarily set in stone. Now, we understand that when we're dealing with people, if you set that expectation of, if I miscommunicated, I apologize. So being able to humble yourself when things go wrong and take accountability for when things go wrong, but also making sure that you learn from those mistakes and not repeating them. But when you are feeling uncomfortable, what I love about feeling uncomfortable means that you're growing. That's the reason why they call it growing pains. You have to realize that growth is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. And being a perfectionist and it's going to actually hinder you from taking an action. So I love what you said it, but having that mindset about the beauty of the imperfect actions is really something to change your mindset in terms of whenever you make a mistake, just know it's always correctable.
We've got something from Tim: taking imperfect steps forward still creates momentum. And Gillian, being prepared is showing up as your best.
That's true.
Both
Because when
ways.
you think about it, if you are, I would say perfectionism can paralyze you. Instead of taking actions, you're just going to be staying the same. But like she mentioned, taking those messy steps moves you forward because either way, you're still failing forward. I love that quote from Denzel Washington. He's an actor, and he had mentioned fail forward because you're going to learn by doing. You never can get better if you're procrastinating due to your perfectionism. Don't let that hinder you. That can really block a lot of blessings in your life by just staying still and overthinking, overanalyzing. Just do it and then learn from it and keep going.
I've also heard that expressed as bounce forward, rather than bounce back from a setback, bounce forward.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Any other takeaways? I hope this was a great session and discussion for you all. Yes, I hope you had some great takeaways. Yes, okay. Do we have anything else? Is that everything for today?
Nothing else in the chat yet?
No? Well, I do have, well, if you all are open to it, I am also a speaker. I can speak anywhere. I know that we're all coming from different parts of the world, but I would love to connect with you. If any of you would like to connect with me, this is a way that you can, if you want to scan this QR code, or maybe Miss Rosalind might be able to send this in the recaps for you all. I can send this to her as well, but I can speak on different things to help you with leadership, or I can put together courses or workshops to present to your teams or either to your staff as well. So just wanted to put that out there that I am available to help with keynotes, workshops, or either strategies to help you alleviate stress and get organized and with the leadership and resilience skills, and also communication as well. And I thank you all for having me today so much.
Lovely. We got in the chat. Thank you. This was great. Thanks, Rachel. Great framework and takeaways. Thanks for sharing some great insights. That's lovely. Thank you, Rachel. Thanks so much, Rachel. So looks like people really got a lot out of it. Are we got a hand up? Do we have a hand up, or was that my imagination? Must be my imagination. Sorry, I thought I saw a hand go up, the little
Oh, a hand.
Zoom hands, the little cartoon hands that pop up. I thought I saw one, but I must have just caught something out of the corner of my eye that wasn't a hand. All right,
Okay.
lovely. Look, I want to say thank you so much, Rachel, for taking the time to come and share with us all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, where it's actually evening for you. So do appreciate taking your time out of your day to come and do that. And love all the stories about the newsroom. I mean, I kind of knew it was hectic, but I had no idea that it was like that. So kudos to you for surviving that pressure. It's kind of seemed a bit insane. I'm like 5 o'clock in the morning, the news actually goes on at 7 at night. I'm thinking, what time does she finish work and when does she sleep?
Exactly. A lot of times you get called and they say, "Can you come back in? I know you just did your shift, but we need extra hands," and it just happens. And then being a good sport, you just roll with it. And I think that comes from being young and hungry. You know, you do a lot of things when you're younger. Now I'm older. I don't think I would accommodate as much because I think that's for the young people.
Yeah. You get older and you appreciate your sleep more, don't you?
Exactly.
All right, wonderful. Well, thanks so much. So we will process the recording, and I'm going to be putting that up on our website. So if you want to watch it again, you can do that. If you came in part way through, you can watch the rest of it as well. And if you've got anybody else in your circles that you think would benefit from it, you can certainly send them the link. So we'll be sending that out once it's live. So thanks so much, everybody, for coming along, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.